Hello everybody, welcome back once again to the British Pokemon League. We're here today to present you week 1 of the British Pokemon League. This has been the culmination of a month's worth of work, hard work, practice, trials, tribulations, and we're finally here. It's been many months in the making, but we're finally here. I'm very excited to bring the show to you guys today, and we've got 4 very exciting matches coming up for you. We've got the Big Dog Derby, or the Dog Derby. We've got BigDogDave versus Dogzie. That's probably one to keep an eye out for today. Hello, we did it. Yeah. I mean, let's just get straight into it. I'm not going to waste any time. Oh, it's very exciting indeed. I agree. Not going to waste any time doing any introductions. Obviously, I am Matt. I'll be talking you through today. I'll be doing some colour commentary for y'all, and we'll do some post interviews a little bit later on. So, before we get onto the league matches, let's go through a bit about what the league's about. Hold the phone. Oops. Oh, music, please. So professional. All right. Okay. Sorry, guys. I was trying to control the music, but apparently that doesn't like that. Right. Anyway. Let's get back on track. So obviously today we've got 4 games, but the entire format of the league will go like this. We've got 8 teams who will play each other twice over the course of a 14-week schedule, and this will decide the main season winner. First half of the season is obviously the first 7 games. This will run until around about sort of mid-March time, at which point we'll have a mid-season break, and this is where we'll have a period of free agency where coaches will be able to make trades. They'll be able to sign any free agents, any ones that didn't get picked up. The trade period, I think, is going to be really, really important. It's going to be really exciting. You're going to see some completely different team comps the second half of the season. So we'll be having a little 2-week maybe break, and then we'll be back for the second half of the season, which will run for the next 7 weeks, which should take us probably up until around about sort of May, June time, which is when the playoffs will show. The top 4 teams from the main season will advance to winners bracket, with the bottom 4 teams moving to losers bracket. Ideally, you want to be getting in winners bracket. It's a much easier route, quote unquote. You only have to win 2 games and you make it to grand finals. And you also have that sort of that safety blanket where you can afford to, not that you want to, but you can afford to lose a game and still be in with a chance of winning the whole thing. But if you lose again, you're then obviously out. For teams in the losers bracket, you've got to win 4 games to make it to grand finals. And if you do manage this, if you manage to make it grand finals, you need to reset the bracket to actually win. So you could, even if you don't start in losers bracket, if you get knocked out in winners finals, you've then got to come back to grand finals, beat whoever you're facing in the grand finals once in a best of 3, and then beat them in another best of 3. So yeah, in losers you lose once and you're out of the competition altogether. So there's a lot at stake. There's a lot on the line. The playoff winner will receive a grand prize of $50, and they will get first draft pick for season 2 of the league. So there's a lot on the line. There's a lot at stake, and we've got a lot of weeks of Pokemon to go. So it's all very exciting. Let's introduce you to the teams. So we've got this list of 8 teams. We've got Bulu Boys, which is coached by myself. We've got Toadstyle Belgrade, which is coached by Wio. Newcastle Thundurus, which is coached by BigDogDave. Aurora Articuno, which is coached by Gus. Long Island Goomies, which is coached by Sealy. Miami Heat, coached by Latvian. ShadowKings, coached by Dogzie. And Inglorious Surface, coached by Aaron. So that's the 8 teams who are all going to be primed for that $50 and that first draft pick for next season. Said it's anyone's game. As we talked about in the preseason show and the draft show, you know, there's only really like a few people who know what each other are about. That this first week of the season's gonna really, you know, I think it's not sort of gonna be where people are bedding in, but obviously nobody knows anything about anyone. Like even the people who are aware of each other, you know, they might not be aware of what their team's gonna bring or what they're gonna do. So there might be some surprise results. You know, we'll have to wait and see. Anyway. We're not going to waste any time. We've got the first game today to show you guys. So our first game is going to be Aurora Articuno versus Miami Heat. So Aurora obviously coached by Gus, Miami Heat coached by Latvian. So Aurora is, their G-Maxmon is Lapras. Lapras is a very, very exciting and interesting Pokemon. Not only is it quite bulky and it's on that sort of like mid-speed tier, you can run Weakness Policy on that Lapras, and it can do some real big damage. And obviously it has that really great G-Max Resonance move, which can set up the Aurora Veil, which gives your team that little bit of physical protection. Gus is also running Dusclops, Whimsicott, so you've got 2 levels of speed control. Obviously, Clops, big Trick Room setter, mainstay in Series 7, and Whimsicott, which can run either Tailwind or Trick Room. It's entirely up to you, and Whimsicott obviously is usually running that Prankster, which means its status moves move first. Next up, he's got Tyranitar. Tyranitar, again, another mainstay of Series 7 teams, a big Weakness Policy user. Can obviously whip up that Sandstorm. There's lots of different ways to run it. He's then got Magnezone, Alolan Exeggutor, Malamar, Vikavolt, Noctowl, Octillery, and... oh my god, I've forgotten its name. I was going to call it Whimsicott again. Yeah, I know what that last one is. Professionalism. Anyway, let's talk about the Malamar. So the Malamar, I think, is a very interesting pick because Malamar runs the ability... oh, yo, Wheel with the 500 biddies. Appreciate it, my dude. Malamar's a very interesting Pokemon because of the ability Contrary. This is really big against like your Intim users. Anything that sort of comes in and brings in stat drops, it's huge because what Contrary does is it actually reverses the what would be the stat change. So Intimidate would normally come in and you'd get a attack drop, but what Intimidate would do to Malamar is actually raise its attack. So that's a really exciting pick. Yeah, Gus's team seems to be a sort of mainly a Trick Room squad, which he gets that Trick Room off and he can do a lot of damage. There's a lot he can do there. I remember that mon is Quagsire. I don't know why my brain decided to fart there, but apparently my brain just didn't want to think. All right, let's move on to Latvian's team, Miami Heat. So Miami Heat's main G-Max mon is Cinderace. The main 3 starter Pokemon from this gen, and probably the original gen that have got a G-Max form, are probably some of the best G-Max mons in the game, in my opinion. And Cinderace is definitely makes an argument to being like in that top 3 just purely because of the ability Libero. It makes a move, say it uses Max Darkness or something along those lines. It changes its form. It then becomes Dark type. So not only is it getting that stab, but it's got a very high attack stat and special attack stat, and it can really, it can ruffle some feathers. You come along expecting a fire type, and it's gonna just change his typing up and ruin your whole day. So he's next. He's running Clefairy. This is a really big sort of follow me user. Redirect. Quite bulky as well. Usually are gonna run Eviolite or something along those lines. Yeah, not much more to say about that one. It does what it says on the tin. Next up is Talonflame. More speed control again. It's a big Tailwind user, and it's got a dual typing as Fire Flying, so it's got 2 sort of stab moves it can go for, either fire or flying types. You might see it running like a dual Winged Eater or an air slash to get those flinches off. Next up, he's running Torkoal. Now Torkoal you'd usually see in a sort of a Venusaur team, but not this time. That's not to say that it can't do a lot of damage. Obviously, Torkoal is typically running the ability Drought to get the sun up. Synergizes very well with Cinderace. You can't say much more than that. You've got Blastoise. Blastoise can run Shell Smash with White Herb, which means any stat drops it gets, it sort of negates that, and it can really run house from there. It's a very big problematic Pokemon. And going down the rest of the list, we've got Kangaskhan, Drifblim, Galarian Slowbro, Beware, Kingler, and that is... oh my god, it's not Heracross. Why am I not remembering names today? Pinsir. Jesus. Okay, sorry, guys. Yeah, that Kangaskhan can obviously run the ability Scrappy, which is going to be really tough for Gus to go up against. He's going to really have to watch out for that Dusclops usage against that Kangaskhan. So without further ado, let's get into this first game. So starting off the field, Latvian launches out Cinderace and Kangaskhan right out the gate. Gus is running the Lapras and Dusclops. So first move of the game, we're going to see... so obviously Dusclops has got a Frisk. It's found the Wide Lens and the leftovers on the Kangaskhan and Cinderace. Cinderace G-Maxes. which is big. Lapras goes for the protect, and there is Kangaskhan with the scrappy ability, gets the fake out, the max darkness from Cinderace, and that is Dusclops gone. That is a really, really big kick in the teeth for Gus there. That Trick Room setter is now out of there, and he swaps in the Vikavolt. That's a really big kill, 10-1. Yeah, I don't know that Gus expected that. I certainly didn't expect that, and that was a really, really huge kill, 10-1. That's going to really make Gus going to have to think about his game plan there, because it's out the window. Anything that he was going to do with that Dusclops, whether it was Trick Room or maybe a weakness policy sort of self-proc, is now gone. He's going to have to really reset. And Latvian seems to have quite a big advantage now, because Latvian's Mons they've got that speed control over Gus's Mons without having a Tailwind or Trick Room there. So Lapras goes for the G-Max. It's obviously want to try and get the Resonance set up. Cinderace goes for the Max Knuckle, changes type to Fighting. That gets the plus 1.5 attack for Kangaskhan and Cinderace. Brick Break comes out from the Kangaskhan, which does proc the Lapras' weakness policy. Resonance comes out, but it's just not enough for Cinderace to go down. But Tesla, the Vikavolt, takes out the G-Max Cinderace with the Bug Buzz. And that is one apiece. It's a pretty good trade-off for 10-2, and obviously that Resonance is up. Obviously, Gus is going to have to watch out for that Brick Break on that Kangaskhan, because that Resonance, it could all be for nothing, and then that Lapras is just wide open to an attack. So out comes Beware. Beware is a very, very bulky, chunky mon. It's not something you typically see in a competitive setting. It's not something I've seen. There you go, the Brick Break comes out, and off goes Aurora Veil. Close Combat comes out, and that is G-Max Lapras out of there. Bug Buzz comes out from the Vikavolt. It does a little bit of damage to Beware, but not enough. And now there's just the Tyranitar on the field, and this isn't looking very, very good for Gus at all. He's in a very big spot. Kangaskhan and Beware both have moves that could take out Tyranitar in one hit. It could be an Oko. I think this could be the game right here, unless Gus has got something up his sleeve. The Protect comes out from the Tyranitar. Last Resort from the Kangaskhan takes out the Vikavolt. Close Combat. Tyranitar protects that, and that is going to be the game. There's nothing really Gus can do here. There's a Brick Break or a Close Combat from Beware or Kangaskhan is going to come out, and they've got speed over it, and there it is. That is 1-0 to Miami Heat in Game 1. We're not going to waste any time. We're going to move straight on to Game 2. We just give it a second. Here's Game 2. So it's the same. We're swapped around here, so sorry about that confusion, but it's the same lineup. Kangaskhan, Cinderace, and we've got Lapras and Dusclops. Is Gus going to learn from his Game 1, I wouldn't say mistake, but from that surprise scrappy usage from Kangaskhan that, it really did a number on that Dusclops. We'll see if he's going to try something else, if he's maybe going to G-Max first time. Cinderace, G-Maxes straight up. Oh, and Lapras with the G-Max as well, okay. Fake Out comes out again on the Dusclops. Max Darkness! That's it. Oh, it lives with barely any HP. G-Max Resonance comes out, it takes Kangaskhan down to half health. Dusclops with a huge flinch on the Dusclops there from the Max Darkness. That is... Oof. If there's no flinch there, you have to think that Trick Room is going up, and, Gus is in a very good position there. But now you're really looking... You're looking at some problems there for Gus. Obviously, he knows Brick Break can come out from that Kangaskhan, and that Resonance is just all for nothing. So what are the two guys? What have they got up their sleeves here? What can Gus do to sort of negate that damage? So Max Guard comes out from Cinderace. That's a good protect. Brick Break comes out. Obviously, with that scrappy ability, it takes out the Dusclops. Good trade there though. So Lapras gets the Max Geyser, he sets up the rain and takes out the Kangaskhan. That is a pretty good trade for Gus. The speed control's gone, but also that Kangaskhan, which is a really big issue for his Lapras, is now gone. But out comes Beware, the big, bulky, physical attacker, the big, chunky bear. And Vikavolt comes out again. It's the same two that swap out for turn 3 and 4. Yeah. So what else have they got to save? Obviously, at the moment, Cinderace is now normal ability. That comes out with the Max Knuckle. He's going to bulk that team's attack. Vikavolt takes that like a champ, but that's not the point. That attack comes out, close combat just about takes the Lapras out. It lives, gets the weakness policy, the max lightning comes out, sets the electric terrain. Thunder from the Vikavolt, and that is Beware gone. Cinderace down to under half HP. Gus is looking in a very, very solid position here. Even with Lapras down at low health, is you know, he's got the Mon advantage right now. Out comes Kingler. What has Kingler got up its sleeve? Kingler again is another sort of, I would argue, non-meta Series 7, Series 8 Mon. So that this is pretty huge. Can Gus turn this around? Could we see a Game 3 from this first game? Sucker Punch comes out from the Cinderace, and that is Lapras out there. Cinderace changed to Dark type. The Crab Hammer from Kingler. Oh, and in one turn, the Mon advantage is gone. And that is looking like a GG again. Executor Lola comes out. I don't know that there's much Gus can really do in here. The Thunder, yeah, I agree with the Thunder in the weather worked really well to his advantage. Beware just didn't stand a chance there. With the electric terrain boostage as well, like Thunder was always OHKOing in that situation. And yeah, I think this is the game, unfortunately. So Latvian coming out strong, game 1. High jump kick from Cinderace takes him out. Match number 1 over and done with. And that, what a game. Obviously Latvian coming out swinging for the fences. I don't know. Was Gus expecting the scrappy? Should he have expected it? But there was just nothing he could do against the scrappy and the max darkness there from the Cinderace. You know, that was a great turn 1 from Latvian, and it really set the pace for the match. You know, it certainly looked like game 2 where Gus could definitely turn it around. He obviously had the Mon advantage. The Sucker Punch did come out, unfortunately, from the Cinderace, and that kind of turned the game on its head. And I mean, you know, Crab Hammer hits, and it's game, set, and match. You know. So anyway, we've not got any interviews with Latvian or Gus today. Both were not available for interviews, but that is a very great start for Miami Heat. A lot of people in the league were expecting big things from Latvian Miami Heat, so they go to 1-0 in league. Which is going to put them top of the table for now. But we're going to jump straight now in next game. Anyway, and this is a big one. Okay, this is the one that everyone was looking out for. The Dog Derby. We've got Newcastle Thundurus versus ShadowKings. So the coaches of BigDogDave and Dogzie. So we'll go through the Thundurus team to begin with. The Gmax for Thundurus is Gmax Charizard. Gmax Charizard is a very, very potent mon. The Gmax Wildfire with the after effects of that can do so much damage. You know, just it sets up the sun anyway, but like the amount of damage it does, and then the chip damage it's doing afterwards, you've got to be so careful. You know, if you don't block that from going off, you're going to be having some really, really big issues. So the teams in the league are going to have to really watch out for that. We've then got Azumarill. Azumarill is obviously a dual typing water fairy. We've seen Azumarill run a few different sort of setups in the last few metas. Mostly going to be running. Oh, hold on a second. I just realized something. Hang on. Sorry, guys. I just remembered something. Okay. That should be that fixed now. Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, so back to what I was saying. Yeah, Azumarill runs a few different setups. Obviously, it has that Sap Sipper ability, which is really great against grass types. And a huge power Azumarill. Again, really, really huge. You know, that attack boost, you can run it with a life orb, and it's going to be doing so much damage. We then got Ferrothorn. Ferrothorn runs a few different setups, but it's mostly known for stall. Obviously, it can run that Leech Seed. It can run Iron Defense. You know, if it can boost, if it's up against some physical attackers, this Ferrothorn can really do the work. Obviously, typically runs with Rocky Helmet as well, so it's doing that dual damage with its ability as well. You know, you're just going to be able to chip people down, and you can either run it. You could run it with spikes, so anything coming in the field is doing damage. There's a lot of different things you do with Ferrothorn. The next one is a pretty big. It's a mainstay mon, and I think it's going to be in the meta for quite a while. We've got Incineroar. This thing is something else. The Intimidate, its ability is really huge for sort of stopping those physical attackers. It can run Snarl. It can run Fake Out. It can obviously run fire moves. you know, anything to sort of drop the special attack, special defense, parting shot as well is another really big move for the Incineroar lineup. So, you know, this thing could do a lot of work. It was very surprising during the draft that nobody had picked this up until very late on when Dave picked it up, and I've got to admit it was a very good pick. Aegislash as well. Again, it's not something you typically see in the meta right now. You know, obviously our draft league is running a tier system, so that meta kind of goes out the window. But it's not something you typically see. But this thing, you know, it can do a lot of work. Obviously, it changes forms from shield form to attack form. That King Shield, you know, if you can get the ability, you know, the move timed right, you know you're gonna get a protect off each time. And it's a pretty beefy mon. Run through the rest of the list. We've got Mamoswine, Dust Noir, Ribbon Bee, Steelix, Magnezone, and we've got the Zweilous. Mamoswine is a very good physical attacking mon. Obviously, that dual typing ground ice type. You saw it come out very early on in the Series 7 meta. It was coming out to counter the Landorus, the heavy Landorus meta at the start. You still might see it every now and again. Does obviously have that... It's very weak to grass and to water, fire. Really big problems for it. But, you know, if this thing can get going, it's going to do the damage. All right, moving on to Dogzie team, ShadowKings. We've got the G-Max Butterfree. Now, this mon is a very, very interesting mon, let's just say. When I saw this pick come out, I was a little bit surprised because like other mons that have a G-Max, it has a very strange ability. So I'd sort of argue it's on the sort of annoying levels of G-Max Eevee. So it has the move G-Max Befuddle, which, to my understanding, when you use it, the opposing mons get a random status effect, which typically is sleep or paralysis. The amount of like sort of chaos this mon can cause if it gets Befuddle off is going to cause real problems. You know, you might be looking at a 10-1 sleep wake up. Or you might get unlucky and might be asleep for 3 or 4 times, which, you know, in that time, it could be game over. And the power comes out, you know, yes, you know, for a Trick Room team like Dave's, the speed drops are going to be good, but, you know, for someone who's not running that, the speed drops from the para and the you know, the quote-unquote para hacks that you see, you know, you nullify a mon for a 10, and, you know, that leaves it wide open to attack. We then got Excadrill. Excadrill is typically paired with Tyranitar, but not in this scenario. But that's not to say that it's not, again, a potent mon. It can run Weakness Policy. It's obviously dual typing Ground Steel. You know, you've got Iron Head, Earthquake that you can run. Like it's a very strong physical attacker. You can't count this thing out. You sometimes might see it run Brick as well, so it's great for breaking screens. Moving on, we've got Indeedee Male, which, again, you normally see the Indeedee Female pick, but as that mon had already been picked, Dogzie obviously had to go for the Indeedee Male. So this has got much better special attack and attack than the female variant and is slightly faster. It doesn't have the same moveset as well. It's not a redirect mon like the female variant, but it runs a very important move, Imprison. Imprison you might see running on Indeedee Males can be really huge. If Indeedee Male's running Protect and use Imprison, that means the opposing team, until that Indeedee Male's gone, cannot run Protect at all. You know, and that gives you a great advantage. Moving on down, we've got Politoed. It's a rain setter. It's a pretty chunky mon, considering, you know, you'd look at it and think, you know, it's going to be pretty squishy, but this thing is not squishy at all. This thing is tanky as hell if you have the right EV set on it, and has been well known to run Perish Trap. You know, if you get that other team down to 2 mons and you can run Perish Song, all you gotta do is stall out for 3 turns, and, you know, you're gonna win the game. So moving on down the list, we've got Mienshao, Galarian Weezing, Hitmonlee, Slurpuff, Wobbuffet, Haunter, and Poliwhirl. Wobbuffet, you know, very memey pick, but actually can do work. It has the ability Shadow Tag, which means that the opposing mons are locked in. They can't switch out, which, again, for that Parasong could be really big. I'll be honest, I don't know a lot about Mienshao. I know it's a fighting type. I've never really seen it before, so it'll be interesting to see if Dogzie ever brings that. Galarian Weezing obviously has the neutralizing gas, which stops any abilities going off, so like Intims and things like that aren't going to go off, which can be really big. You typically see the Weezing paired with the Regigigas, so slow start isn't a problem. But anyway, without further ado, we've got our next game, so let's just hop straight into it. So Dave starting off with the Dusknoir and the Aegislash. Dogzie starting out with the Indeedee Mail and the Butterfree. Psychic Terrain goes up. That Frisk comes out and he finds the Quick Claw on the Indeedee and the Focus Sash on the Butterfree. So that's going to be some really important information turn 1. So obviously Dave is going to be looking to try and get that Trick Room off. Now Dusknoir, you know, it doesn't get a lot of credit. I think obviously Dusclops is the better mon because you can run it Eviolite and it's so tanky, but Dusknoir is nothing to shake your head at, you know. It's still a pretty chunky mon. You know, if the other team's got nothing to sort of nullify it, it's got nothing that's super effective against it, it can really do the work. And it's got pretty much the same sort of moveset as Dusclops as well. So, you know, you can run pretty much the same setup with Pain Split and things like that. Anyway, so the swap comes out. Slurpuff comes on the field with a Psychic Seed, buffs his special defense. Butterfree G-Maxes. We see the D-Max from Aegislash. Helping Hand comes out. G-Max Befuddle comes out, and that is huge. The sleep on the Dusknoir and the power on the Aegislash, and that power has stopped the Aegislash from moving. That's a great turn 1 from Dogzie. That's exactly what he would have wanted. Dave is now in a bit of his position. That Dusknoir is asleep, which means there's no Trick Room coming out. Dogzie now has the speed control, and he can really do some work with that Butterfree. As you see, Whelp in chat from Dave there. So yeah, Dusknoir fast asleep. The Dazzling Clean comes out from Slurpuff, which doesn't really do anything. The Max Lightning hits the Aegislash. Aegislash tastes like a tank. The Max Steel Spike, Power Hacks don't pull off. Slurpuff is out of there. We get the defense buff on the side of Dave, and that's gonna do some real work because Hitmonlee is a physical attacker, and there's not a lot it can do right now against this duo with the defense buff now. You're gonna see this Aegislash really do some work now. Now it's Dynamaxed. So what has Dogzie got up his sleeve to take out this duo? So Dave might be in a bit of a spot, but that defense boost is going to be so huge. Bulldoze comes out, which is super effective against the Aegislash, but it uses Weakness Policy, it procs the Weakness Policy. Max Lightning comes out, it tanks that, the Dusknoir tanks that. Max Phantasm comes out from Godsbane, the Aegislash doesn't quite take out the Butterfree, but they do get that defense drop, which is going to be really big on the side of Dave. You know, that Aegislash can really now go to town on both Butterfree and Hitmonlee. And that Aegislash now has the Weakness Policy buff, 2 times attack, 2 times special attack. King Shield comes out, that's a good move. Bulldoze goes off. Doesn't really do a lot of damage, drops that speed though. Electro Web comes out, the speed drops more. The speed control is good, but you've got to worry that Dusknoir wakes up, gets Trick Room off, and then, you know, Dave's got all the control. Hitmonlee is obviously still sat at full health. There's still only one mon down on Dogzie, but it's very even going into turn 5. You know, there's still anything could happen. You know, that while that Dusknoir is asleep, if Dogzie has something he can. Oh, the Wide Guard though, Bulldoze ain't gonna do nothing. The Wide Guard stopping the move against both mons. Air Slash comes out. The Dusknoir wakes up and Trick Room goes off, and that is panic stations for Dogzie. Very, very panic stations. You know, that Butterfree and Hitmonlee are going to be way faster than both of Dave's mons, especially Dusknoir. That Dusknoir's going to be running Poltergeist as well, which is really problematic for the side of Dogzie. Poltergeist is a very, very strong move. Doesn't have the greatest accuracy, but you know, if it goes off, you're in trouble. So now Dogzie's got to find a way to start this Trick Room. Out comes Indeedee again. Poltergeist comes out from the Dusknoir. That is Butterfree out of there. Aegislash change of form. Flash Cannon takes about 60% of the HP down from Indeedee Mail, and now it's looking very, very difficult for Dogzie to come back from this. It's been very, very patient gameplay from Dave. He's just waited out. He's managed to get the defense buff from Aegislash, and you know, he's been able to just tank all the hits from Dogzie, and Dogzie just doesn't seem to have any answer for Dave's mons. The Wide Guard comes out again. That's such a big play. Pain Split from Dusknoir buffs its HP up. Mystical Fire taking out that Aegislash, which is a shame. Aegislash done a lot of work that first game there. But the Bulldoze from Hitmonlee, it does nothing to the Dusknoir and takes its own Indeedee out. Oh, that's gonna really sting for Dogzie. That Hitmonlee is now in very big trouble. Ferrothorn pops out. I don't know that Dogzie can really do anything. I think that's game 1. Pain Split comes out. And there's the Leech Seed. Rock Tomb from Hitmonlee, I don't think it's going to really do anything. Drops the speed of the Dust Noir, which really, if anything, aids the Dust Noir. So what is Ferrothorn got up its sleeve? You've got to think it's going to be a body press. Helping Hand from the Dust Noir, body press from the Ferrothorn, and that is Hitmonlee out of there. That is game 1 to Thundurus. What a start from Dave. You can't say fairer than that. Really patient gameplay, and it's paid off for him in the end. We're going to drop straight into game 2. It's a different lineup from Dave this time. We've got the Dust Noir and the aptly named Incineroar Randy Rotten. Dogzie with a different lineup as well. That's Slurpuff and Indeedee Male coming out in the field. Slurpuff getting that special defense buff, which you've got to think against physical attackers, is that going to be the way to go? You know, there's going to be problems on that side of Dogzie if any physical attacks go off. Really, the special defense is not what you're going to want to get buffed. Helping Hand comes out from the Dust Noir. Dazzling and Gleam doesn't really do anything with the Slurpuff. Hyper Voice it's going to take a chip of damage from an Incineroar. And the Max Darkness, that's Indeedee Male, just gone. Out of there. It's done. That's a great turn 1 from Dave. There's no Befuddle on the field, so that Incineroar's been able to just run house on that first turn. No real damage coming out from the side of Dogzie. That Butterfree does come out now. You're going to see that Butterfree presumably G-Max, and that Befuddle's going to come out now. That's going to slow Dave down a bit, I'm sure, but that's a great turn 1. You can't say fairer than that, to be honest. Befuddle comes out. There it is. The Sleep comes off, and the Para. That's really huge on the side of Dogzie. Incineroar's paralysed. No move gets off. Slurpuff gets the light screen up, but you've got to think, against a physical attacking team, is that what you want to be doing? Hitmonlee comes out instead of the Slurpuff. Max Airstream on the Dust Noir, that's going to do quite a bit of damage, and that's the speed boost on the side of Dogzie. The Max Flare comes out, that brings Butterfree right down with Sash. That's really huge. That Butterfree's in big trouble now. You know, one more move off from either side, and that Butterfree's gonna have problems. What can Hitmonlee really do in this scenario as well? You know, it's in trouble. Bulldoze comes out. That takes a bit of damage from both sides of Dave's. That Dust Noir is out of there. The Max Airstream getting another speed buff. That's the Trick Room gone from Dave's side. That could be really, really huge. The Sun is up as well. Out comes Incineroar again. Gets the Intim off. That's gonna really hurt Hitmonlee. You know, Butterfree, you've got to think is gone at this point. But Hitmonlee is relying on his physical attack, and it's not gonna be able to do anything at this point. The Para comes out. Close Combat hits the Ferrothorn. That's gonna do a bit more than you expect, 50% damage. Ferrothorn just tanks it though. Pollen Puff comes out, knocks Incineroar down. Leech Seed out from Ferrothorn, replenishes some of that HP. And this is still wide open. It's still one apiece. It's obviously Butterfree is really low on HP, but you know anything could happen. Aegislash comes out now though to protect from the Ferrothorn. Close Combat, not going to do anything. Pollen Puff. He's able to replenish the health of his Hitmonlee, which is really big on the side of Dogzie. You know, that's going to keep that Hitmonlee in the game for a little bit longer, but that Butterfree's really in a spot. You know, that Butterfree goes down, and you've only got really Slurpuff and Hitmonlee on the side of Dogzie, and you've got to think, what are they going to be able to do at that point? Dave's in a really, really, really good spot here. He's got all the players. Ferrothorn just about lives that Close Combat, though. The Defense Struck comes out from Hitmonlee. The Rocky Helmet as well takes down some of its HP. The Flinch comes out from the Air Slash. Iron Defense on the Ferrothorn. And it's the last 3 turns, you know, it looks like so much has happened, but nothing's really moved. You know, we're still in the same spot. That Hitmonlee's been able to do a lot more than you would have expected with the Ferrothorn, but you know, what has that Hitmonlee got up its sleeve to take it out? Wide Guard comes out. Bulldoze, it's not going to hit anyone. The Protecting Wide Guard, obviously Butterfree's immune. Bug Buzz takes out his own Hitmonlee. Oh, you've got to think that's a misclick. Oh no. Oh, that's a massive shame for the side of Dogzie. He was still really in this game. There was still a lot he could have done at that point, you know, if you keep that Butterfree alive a bit longer, but you're now in a really big spot. You know, that Aegislash has got a Steel move and Slurpuff's in trouble. You know, it's not got that death boost anymore. Butterfree's got like next to no health left. I think this is probably game. You've got to think that that's going to be it. Yeah, that mistake in game 1 and mistake in game 2 from Dogzie really cost him hard. The air slash comes out, no flinch this time. Thunder takes out the Ferrothorn though from the Slare Puff. That's really big from that Slare Puff. Flash Cannon though, he trades it out. It's now 2-on-1. Incineroar gets the Intim drop. That Butterfree can't do anything. That is going to be the game. You can't say fairer than that. What a play. What a game from Dave. You know, you've got to hand it to him. I think Dave's definitely come out prepared for this one. He knew what he wanted to do. He's played the game really patient. That power comes off. Pollen Puff does manage to take out the Incin, but there you go. There's the Flash Cannon. That's the game. What a match. Newcastle Thundurus getting the first week win. Great start from Thundurus. Dogzie, you've got to wonder. The dogs really did come out swinging. You've got to wonder with Dogzie, you know, if those mistakes don't happen, you've got to think, you know, is he going to be in that game a bit more? But that's the luck of the draw, you know, a misclick and the whole match comes tumbling down. It's a really big shame for the side of Dogzie, but, you know, GG's to both players. I think they both played pretty well. Yeah, as I said, Dave with the patient play, that first game, you know, some people you would think would start panicking at that point. You know, the sleep and power have come out. You know, what do? You can't get the Trick Room up. You're getting slowed down more and more. You know, that Butterfree's doing the work. And then Aegislash coming in hot, though, with 3 kills across the match. That puts him 3rd highest on the KD ratio for the league. Aegislash is definitely going to be a one to watch out for on the side of Dave. Obviously, no Gmax Charizard that game from Dave, which I think surprised a lot of people, including Dogzie. I think even if it had, I think Dogzie would have been in a pretty tough spot. But, you know, what a game. That was a really high-intensity game. And, yeah, great game to both players. So we're going to throw it into an interview after our next game with Dave. We'll talk with him. Dave's a little bit busy as of right now, but we'll just throw it into our next game. So the next game is Long Island Goomies, coached by Silly, versus Toad Star Belgrade, coached by our own Weo. We'll start off with the side of Long Island Goomies. Now, one thing that we didn't realise when we did the draft pick, Gumi's got both Urshifus. So he got the G-Max Urshifu, that's his G-Max one, which is the water variant, Fighting Variant. And he also got the Fighting Dark variant, with the non-G-Max version. So as we didn't realise that you can't bring both Urshifus to a game. So we when we saw the picks come out from Silly, this was looking very scary. You know, that Unseen Fist, on Urshifu, having both Urshifus on a field would be terrifying. You know, there's going to be so much damage is going to come off on that side. But as we found out, yeah, that you can only bring one, so that kind of nullifies that. But yeah, that G-Max Urshifu, hella physically strong. You know, the water variant has surging strikes, which crit every single time. And they hit 3 times. You know, anything that's weak to water is going to have some really big issues. The next one is Drizzle, one of the fossils in the game. This great mon, you know, if you get that speed control, it has Bolt Beak, which does double damage if it moves for its opponent. That's a huge plus on that side of Silly. We have the other Urshifu. We might see the other Urshifu come out at times, but I think that water Urshifu is going to be the mainstay for a lot of games. We have Alchemy. Alchemy is a very great support mon. It's not particularly bulky, but you know, it can get, if it gets that Decorate off, you know, a Decorate and a weakness policy, and you're pretty much gonna have to call game right there, because you know that mon's gonna be completely unstoppable. We then have Gudra, Dragon mon. This thing has Sap Sipper. It's a very powerful special attacker. Draco Meteor from that side, and you know, it can do a lot of work against other dragon types. We've got Pink Urchin, another great support mon. You're going to be running like the Nuzzle Volt Switch on that. It obviously runs Lightning Rod, which, you know, against any of the mons in the league that are running any electric moves, that's going to be really vital. Going through the rest of the list, we've got Weavile, Decidueye, Mushana, Sudowoodo, and Fletchling. Fletchling was a very surprising pick. I think there was a lot of meme picks coming out from the side of Silly during the draft. That's not to take anything away from him, though. I think he's got a very solid team there. Decidueye, obviously, with Spirit Shackle can do a lot of work. Mashana's a great Trick Room setter, is really bulky, and actually has pretty high special attacks. It can do a bit of sweeping if it wants. Weavile, you're going to see like fake out usage on that. It's a really strong physical attacker. Sudowoodo, Silly had joked to us that he might run weakness policy on this, so we'll have to wait and see what comes out on that side of Silly, but it's going to be a very interesting matchup. Onto the side of Wio towards Star Belgrade, and that G-Max and that Dragapult look very, very familiar. We've got G-Max Colossal. This thing is an absolute beast. You pair that with a support Dragapult running Surf. Not only can you proc the weakness policy, but you also proc Colossal's Steam Engine, which buffs its speed by 4 times. It just turns the thing into a monster. You know, if they've got no Trick Room on the other side, even if they do, it's going to do so much damage with Volcalith, and then the Volcalith chip damage. You know, you've got to get that thing stopped before it gets going, or you're going to have really big problems. Dragapult, again, you can run. It can run as sweeper, or it can run as a screen setter with Will-O-Wisp, Surf. A lot of different things you do with Dragapult. It's a very, very there's a lot of things you could do with it. It's a very flexible mon, and it's been a mainstay in Series 7. I think you're going to see it for probably the rest of this game cycle. We've then next got Duraludon, which is, I believe, a Dragon Steel type. This is a really, really interesting mon, because normally dragons coming up against fairy types, you're going to be, you can be sat there slightly concerned, but with that steel type, you can run steel moves. Max steel spike from this thing, and that fairy type's gone. Duraludon's a very, very bulky, powerful Pokemon, and there's a lot of damage going to be able to come out on that side of Wio. We've then got Hawlucha. Hawlucha has the move Unburden, which is very big for speed control. Once it uses the item, it's going to get the speed buff. Along Ninetales, your typical screen setter Ninetales, Aurora Veil will typically run some kind of fairy move like Moonblast, Dazzling Gleam, can do a bit of chip damage work, can set up the hail, which, if nothing else, is going to be an annoyance on the other side. And at the bottom there, you've got Seismitoad. If you can run that thing in rain, if you can get rain set up, the Swift Swim can come out. It's obviously water ground, so it can run the likes of Earthquake or High Horsepower, or you're going to see Muddy Water or Liquidation come out from that thing. It's a very powerful mon. Going through the rest of the list, we've got Dubwool, Golisopod, Shedinja, Serena, and Weezing. That don't sleep on that Dubwool is all I'm going to say. If that gets Cotton Guard off even once, unless you've got a strong special attacker on a team, it's very hard to take down, and Body Press will absolutely annihilate you. It's very, very powerful. If it gets it off twice, and he can get a light screen or something set up, you're gonna have a hard time taking down this Dubwool. Golisopod, again, could run as a self proc for Colossal, but is again a really strong physical attacker. It's got that dual typing Bug Water. Moving on down to Shedinja. Now Shedinja is, I would argue, a Mimi pick, but could almost for sure bring it as a fourth just for late game. If that other team doesn't have an answer for Shedinja, if it doesn't have something that's weak to it, rock, fire, flying, dark, ghost, they have nothing. That Shedinja's gonna just sit there and it can just sit there with Wonder Guard and it can't do anything. Serena, pretty decent physical attacker. I think it's more well known for Queenly Majesty. Obviously stops any priority moves going off. It's really great at walling Rillaboom. Rillaboom is well known for Grassy Glide, and it just physically can't do anything because Grassy Glide goes off and Queenly Majesty just puts up the hand sign and says no. And finally, we've got Weezing. We've already talked about Weezing, the Galarian variant, but this is much the same, except it's not dual typing. That neutralizing gas is so huge. So we could see some very interesting things coming out. So we're going to jump straight into this game now. Let's get on with it. So we've got the coach name of Wio has gone for is Jurgen Hop. Big shout out to Wio. It gave us all a very big giggle in the Discord call yesterday. We're going to kick things off. Dragapult and Weezing come out on the side from Wio, and Fletchling and Urshifu. And that is Water Urshifu. There's a bug with Showdown which causes it to show as the Dark Urshifu, which was a big problem. As you'll see there in chat, Wio was a bit confused. But you've got to wonder what that Fletchling is going to be able to do. Obviously you'd expect it's going to run something like Tailwind or something, but with Gale Wings, which will give it priority. But it's very, very squishy. Yeah, there's me just checking which Urshifu it is. We were all very confused by that watching the game yesterday. But Weezing and Dragapult from the side of Weo. Not what I was expecting, to be honest. I was definitely expecting the duo, the Dragapult Colossal. So to see that come out was big. So there's no turn timer on this game. With Weo's internet's a little bit broken right now. So we'll just wait and see. We'll have to be patient. Surging Strikes on the Urshifu could do so much, even if against something it's not super effective against. It's such a powerful mon, and you can't protect against it. Dragapult with a D-Max. Max Wormwind comes out, that knocks that Urshifu down below quarter and drops its attack. That's huge. Ice Punch. You would think the Ice Punch would have probably one-hit it, but the burn as well from Weezing. That Urshifu is now nullified completely. The attack drop and the burn. That Urshifu is going to be able to do nothing. You've got to think if the attack drop doesn't come out, that Urshifu is going to Ice Punch that Dragapult one hit. But that's a really huge turn one for Weo. That is definitely, in my opinion, an advantage to Weo. That Dragapult's dropped down, but what's it going to do? Surging Strikes comes out in that Weezing, and it's just doing nothing. Weezing tanks that. Will-O-Wisp from the Fletchling, it misses. Max Phantasm from the Dragapult. That Urshifu is out of there. That's a great swap. Clear Smog on the Fletchling. Drops some of that damage, and the stat changes are removed. Out comes Dracozolt. So what is Dracozolt going to be run? You've got to expect that he's going to D-Max that Dracozolt. That Dracozolt can do a lot of damage. Obviously, can set electric terrain up. Max Wormwind comes out, takes out that Dragapult. He's running a speedy Dracozolt. Out goes the Dragapult. That's a great trade. Will-O-Wisp from the Weezing, and that's just really great at control over the opposing side from Weo. The burn on both of the main physical attackers. That Dragozolt's going to struggle now unless it can buff its attack in any way. Oh, Ninetales comes out on the side of Weo. This is looking very, very desperate for Silly at the moment. That's one mon down the Urshifu, and Blizzard from that Ninetales can do a lot of work. Max Lightning from the Dracozolt takes down to half HP. The dual wing beat from the Fletchling barely does anything to a Weezing. Blizzard comes out, that Fletchling's gone. Dracozolt is knocked down below half, but it does activate its weakness policy, which is huge. The Taunt comes out from the Weezing there. I'm not sure what that's gonna prevent, but if nothing else, the Dracozolt now can't protect. And Silly's final mon is that Weavile. It can run Fake Out, which I think is pretty huge on that side. If you can stop that Ninetales from sweeping here, you're going to be in a good position. Protect comes out from Weezing. Fake Out on the Ninetales, it's gone. Max Lightning on the Ninetales with the electric terrain boost. Stab, that Ninetales is gone, and it is now down to the final two on both sides. This is an incredibly close game. It's still anyone's game. That Dracozolt is banned, but it has that weakness policy buff on its attack and special attack. There's problems on this side of Weo right now. If he can't take out that Dracozolt, you've got to wonder what can he do in this situation. Weezing obviously also has an attack drop. Triple Axle comes out from the Weavile. Is it going to be enough to take Weezing out? No, not quite. Outrage though does crit the Weezing. Neutralizing Gas is gone. Draco Meter from the Duraludon, that Dracozolt is gone, and it is a 1v1. And this has got very interesting very quickly. It's a 1v1. Duraludon versus Weavile. Who's going to get? Triple Axle comes out. It takes it down below 50%. Thunderbolt from the Duraludon, even with electric terrain, doesn't quite do enough. And that's going to be game. You've got to think the Triple Axle comes out. And that's Duraludon out of there. There it is. Game 1 to Silly. Incredibly close game. The closest game we've had so far, by far. What a match. Great control with the Will-O-Wisp from Weo there. Just quite wasn't enough on this side. And we're going to hop straight into game 2. Are we going to see the same picks come out from both sides? You've got to wonder. But there's the Dragapult, and there's the Colossal. There's the duo we know and love. Fletchling and Urshifu out again. But what Weo's going to be careful is that Tailwind goes off, that Urshifu is going to be in a prime position to take out that Colossal, and then there's going to be big problems. If he can't get a Will-O-Wisp off, if he hasn't brought Weezing this second game, that Urshifu can just run house. It can do so much damage. The Colossal G-Maxes, there it is. The Tailwind comes out. Surging Strikes. That Colossal's gone. Obviously procs the Steam Engine, procs the weakness policy. But it's too late. Surging Strikes. Orcos, three cores, the Colossal. Surf comes out from the Dragon, but the strat was there, but it's going to do nothing on the side of Silly. And now Wheel's in a very, very big predicament. That whole strat is completely out of the window. You know, if you've got to think if Wheel gets that off, if the Tailwind's nullified, you know, he's going to be okay. But Duraludon out now on the side of Wheel. It's not over. You know, he's only lost the one mon. Duraludon can still do a lot of work here. Obviously now has no D-Max or G-Max on his side, and Silly still has that available on his side. So there's still all to play for, but you know, what's going to happen here? Close combat comes out from the Airshrew, and that Duraludon is gone. That's a Orco. The Will-O-Wisp on the Dragon Pult. Dragon Dart is now nullified. That's going to do nothing to Airshrew and Fletchling. The burn, that's huge on the Dragon Ball. The final mon, Hawlucha. What can we do? Can Weo bring this back? This is looking very, very sketchy for Weo now. He's got a lot of work to do. The Detect comes out, but that's not going to stop Urshifu. The Unseen Fist. Oh, that's a big misplay from Weo. The Detect. The Will-O-Wisp is obviously protected, but oh, that's so much damage to Hawlucha. That's a big problem on the side of Weo. That Dragon Pult's now got all the work to do on its own, and it's burned, so it's... Oh, this is problems. Ice Punch comes out from Urshifu. Dragon Ball just about. There's dual Wingbeat from the Fletchling. The Fletchling getting the kill. Oh, who would have ever guessed that? The burn knocks that Dragon Ball down a bit more. Tailwind is gone, but this is looking like a 4-0, an absolute sweep. Tech comes out. Phantom Force from the Dragon Ball. Lives that dual Wingbeat, but Dragon Ball has no HP. That is going to be the game. Protect fails, protect from the Fletchings, not going to matter. Phantom Force doesn't quite do enough. Dragon Ball dies to the burn, and that is the game, ladies and gentlemen. What a match from the guys. Wow. We went from an incredibly close game, game one. You know, you couldn't ask for a more competitive game that game one. That was a sort of a war of attrition, to just a completely different game two. There was no 4-0 sweeps all weekend until we saw that. 2-0 after 2-0 after 2-0. Silly with the 2-0 clean puts him joint first in the league. That's a great start from Silly. It's a great start from the Kung Fu Panda team. So right now we're gonna hop into the Discord. Dave is waiting for me in the Discord, so let's throw it into there. Let's talk to the man himself about his game against Dogzie. David, are you there?
Oh God, let me know the stream. Hello.
Hello. Let me just turn you down a second. Okay. Right, yeah. So your game against Dogzie. First of all, I want to say congrats. That's a great win.
Mission accomplished.
Mission. Yeah, you know, you came.
Week one.
We both said we wanted to come in and at least win one game, and one of us has managed it so far. It remains to be seen whether I'm going to, but we'll see next game. So what do you think that first game? Obviously, you had to play really, really patient to wait to get that Trick Room up. What do you think was like the turning point that sort of turned the tides in your favour in that first game?
Honestly, straight out the gate, I saw Aegislash was going to be a massive problem.
Yeah.
If I could just get some support onto it, so I thought I'm going to throw Dustclops out.
Mm-hmm.
Dustnoir out. Yeah, big one. Turn one, I'm just going to. He's expecting the trick. He sees that front two. He's going to Trick Room turn one.
Oh, absolutely.
Maybe I protect with Aegislash.
Yes.
So I'm thinking, if he thinks I'm going to do that, what I'm going to do is just going to hit something really, really hard.
Yeah.
Helping hand straight in the Aegislash, and then to make it even worse, he switches the Indeedee out into the Slurp, that obviously just gets annihilated.
Tanked. So
annihilated.
That befuddle was really big that time one. You know, we were watching that go off. We saw that go off, and it was like, oh, this is. I think a lot of people in that position would start a panic, but you were able to just stay like level headed and just wait it out. I think that max steel spike was really huge for you. Yeah,
well, like I was suggesting, I wanted to get as much damage out as quick as I could to put a dent into his whatever his plan was. To be honest, I don't know what his plan was going into it. So, but first turn, he's going to look at me and think he's trying to set his Trick Room up. So I'm just going to go ham. And then, like you said, I obviously the aim of the team is to get the Trick Room up. So it was always there. It's just waiting for the right time for it to pop off.
It popped off at the right time.
It was a couple of turns in, or 3 turns in, or something like that.
It was 10-4, and at that point as well,
Oh, there
obviously
you go.
Dogzie had got the Electroweb off, he'd got the Bulldoze off, so
Yeah, yeah,
and the Para as well, so you were incredibly slow.
yeah.
So
Unbelievably
he was
slow.
just trying
That
to
was it, wasn't it? It was
stall.
befuddle. It was
Yeah, it
befuddle
was
we were talking about.
befuddle. He was just trying to stall you out to get that speed control and start doing the damage. But
Yeah,
as soon as that Just Noir woke up, I think it was curtains on the side of Dogzie. To be honest, you just
yeah, yeah.
ran house from there.
Obviously, he was playing heavy into speed control. He was an Electro Web using Max Airstream. I think he used in the second battle
Yes, yeah,
to get like as much speed as he could on his side. So I knew Trick Room had to come out at one point.
yeah.
And then, like you said, it moves he was using was lower, and my speed I was getting parried, and it just kept adding up and adding up and adding up to the point where I couldn't not click it.
Yeah, you had to at that point, didn't you?
Yeah,
And then
because
when
it just gave me I just effectively run house from that point.
that Dust Noir like really did a lot of work, like sweeping its with itself. It got Poltergeist off, which knocked out. I can't remember which one it knocked out now, but it did get a KO. Obviously, a mistake in game one and a mistake in game two from Dogzie, which we'll talk about in a bit. Do you think that possibly changed the tides at all? Do you think that was just it was sort of
No, I don't think it changed the game in game one,
no.
but I think game two, it was a close game anyway.
Yeah,
And that was the point where it went from a 50-50 match to a
this is done. Yeah, I mean,
game over.
Game one was definitely like I think that game one and the game one between Silly and Weo were easily the closest games all weekend.
Yeah, absolutely.
They were definitely the most competitive. Obviously a really positive start. Do you think you can sort of continue this momentum going into next week? Obviously, you're facing another coach who got a week one win, Latvian. After seeing Latvians teamed,
The infamous Latvian.
The infamous Latvian. What are your sort of expectations going into that game?
I don't know how I'm gonna get the advantage over him.
Yeah, that Cinderace is really big with Libero.
I think my game plan's gonna have to be just nullifying whatever advantage he is to get it back to a level playing field.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
don't know what that's gonna be. To be honest, I've not looked yet, but I don't
100%.
like. Initially, I don't really know how I'm gonna get the edge. So it might just be a war of attrition, like you said. Don't think Ferrothorn's gonna do a lot of work.
Well,
to be
no,
honest.
you never know. We'll never say never. Obviously, so today you didn't bring a G-Max. Can you explain sort of your thoughts around that? Did it just not work in the matchup, or were you just not confident in bringing it, or do you
He
think
just had too many like Watermons, and
yeah,
it just didn't. And then I was bringing Trick Room, so it didn't really make sense to, because I knew I was gonna have to Dynamax something to put some big damage out, and Charizard was gonna take that slot.
100%.
Just didn't. Maybe it comes next week because there's a lot of Firemons next week.
There is a lot of
He's obviously going to bring his Cinderace. So
There's
pretty much
Cinderace.
Charizard might
Obviously,
not be,
he has Torkoal
Does he have a
on his
Torkoal?
side. Yeah,
Yeah.
has Torkoal, which has Drought. So I mean,
a lot of Sun potential next week.
it's going to be about I think who does the most homework on each other, and I think it could be. I think it's going to be a very close game. For sure. I mean,
I'm absolutely. Yeah, I'm going to watch.
I genuinely just think
back.
like I know there's been a few sort of wipeouts this weekend, but I think that's just the sort of the way week one goes. I think, as you said yesterday,
absolutely.
everyone's working each other out. They're working their own teams out. Seeing what works. And it's about who's done the most preparation. I think I don't think Dogzie minded me saying that he did very little preparation. Not that made any difference to the game. That you won him fair and square. You obviously played much better than, but he hadn't done very much preparation going into it, which I think certainly showed on his side with the mistakes.
I think it makes it really obvious.
Yeah.
That there's no prep done. Like, I don't think you can get away with just turning up on the day, unless the other guy does the same. Then you've just got lucky.
Yeah. I think you saw that with Weo and Silly. I mean, I don't exactly know how much prep Silly had done, but I know Weo had obviously been very busy with work, so I hadn't been able to do as much prep as he wanted to. But you still got really close game out of them, so it wasn't as if it made any of the games any less competitive or more of a joke. I think just we've got some very talented players in the league who know what they're doing.
It's not disappointing to sort that, put it that way. I'm looking forward to next week.
Yeah.
Just because now I feel like everyone's going to go, huh?
Oh.
People aren't here to just...
Everyone's sort of woken up a bit now.
I I'm not going to just be able to turn up and whitewash everybody.
Yeah, well, Silly's just said in chat there, I made my team 5 minutes before, so yeah,
Exactly.
that's. I think it's a lot of people are going to sort of wake up and hear the music now, and they've got a lot of work to do.
If they generally want to do as good as they can, I feel like they'll be like, okay, I need to do something.
Yeah, absolutely.
I didn't do a lot. I must say, I didn't do a lot, but I did a couple of hours.
That makes all the difference, you know.
I feel like even for it to only work game 1, and me to just run a house on a game 1, like you did with Aaron. Even if all the prep work only gets you a 1-game advantage,
it's still an advantage, and you're in their head.
Even if you go 1-for-1 in the next 2, you've won the match.
Yeah, obviously that game 2, that Dustclops went down. So was there any sort of, it ended up being a 1v1 in the end. I know that Butterfree had like no HP left, but was there sort of any doubt in your mind at that point when the Trick Room control went down?
Well, it was another case of he got to sleep on the Dustclops.
Yeah.
Dust Noir, big fan, and I think he got a parrot on my Incineroar.
Yeah, on the Incin.
Which I knew was going to be a problem. As soon as it happened, I knew it would be a problem. Because Incineroar's there to switch in, fake out, and then I'll pull him out and put a defensive one back in. I'll put a Ferrothorn in to store some more, or Steelix or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And then it nearly mattered at the end, and
yeah,
it didn't really because Aegislash had such a big HP advantage. But when that parrot didn't happen, I was like, I knew.
You knew you could do it.
It could have happened at any point, and that's not something I really noticed beforehand. I didn't know Butterfree did that.
Befuddle did that.
It's
yeah.
so hacksy, you know what I mean?
There's a few abilities that are like that, like Centre Scorch on my team. That Centre Inferno actually traps them in.
Yeah.
So that they not only are they getting chip damage.
I watched Aaron's YouTube video.
Yeah. We won't say any results about that Aaron's game. We're gonna get onto that in a hot second, but you will see the Centre Inferno come out. That's going to wrap it up anyway with me and you, Dave. Once again, congratulations. And I'm excited to see what you bring for week 2 against Lat. I think that's
probably let the preparation begin.
That's going to be a very huge game. Both teams 1-0. Could decide some early pace setters, I think, week 2. So.
Let me tell you, if I come out the blocks and I've won 2 of the first 2 games,
you're
never going to hear the end of it.
Massive start, yeah.
There'll
be more
music when I finish the Discord and also.
There'll be more Twitter videos. You'll be doing a whole walkout before the match. Yeah.
A whole walkout, exactly right.
All right, mate. Well, I will catch you soon. Thank you very much for the interview.
No worries, pal.
See you later. All right, my dudes. That was Dave. Dave sounding very, very confident, very happy with his week 1, game 1 and 2 win. We're going to jump straight into our final game, which is between myself and Aaron, Bulu Boys versus Inglorious Surfers. So I'll try and talk a little bit unbiasedly about my team as best I can, and we'll go through Aaron's team as well. I picked up the GMAX Centre Scorch, so the sort of mainstay with the team was I was heavily inspired by Sajan Park's team. Centre Scorch is a really, really great mon. It's got such high physical attack, and obviously gets that GMAX move Centre Inferno, which not only Wildfire and Colossal's GMAX move, it's not only doing chip damage, but it also means they're trapped in. It's a really annoying move to play around, and I really like that on Centre Scorch's side. We've got Diggersby. A bit like Azumarill, it has huge power. It's a really strong physical attacker. It's not actually that slow. You'd think something like that would be quite a slow mon, but it's not. It has a really wide move pool. I really like Diggersby a lot. It was always something in the back of my mind that I wanted just as a sort of sleeper pick, so I was very happy that I was able to secure it. Rillaboom, I mean, I don't think you need to say much about Rillaboom. It gets that grassy terrain up, and Grassy Glide can do a lot of work. Does have quite a few weaknesses. If the other team's well prepared for it, it can be walled, but it's a strong one. If they don't have an answer for it, it's going to do a lot of work. Togekiss, quite a mainstay in the early series and competitive. It's still it's in a few teams, but it's a great redirect mon. It can run what's it called? It can run sleep. It can get a 2-turn sleep off with one of its moves. It can run Dazzling Gleam, Air Slash. If you can run Wide Lens on it, or Scope Lens and Super Luck, you can get some really good crit damage off on it. Moving on down the list, we've got Ice-Q. Ice-Q, not great special defense, but it's obviously got that ability that it can take a hit before it actually takes any damage. So there's a lot of things you can do with Ice Cube. Obviously, you're more likely to see a belly drum come out of it. If that thing gets going though, if it gets belly drum set up, it's going to do a lot of work. Chansey, seen Chansey running a lot recently. It can just sit there and play annoyance with minimize, soft boiled, and seismic toss. Seismic toss does damage equivalent to the opponent's level, so it's not a bad move to have on. Then running through the rest of the field, we've got Ditto, Heracross, Maractus, Shuckle, and finally we've got Piloswine on the end. Ditto I really, really like. I think it's got a lot of flexibility around Ditto. If you can get that set up positionally correct, you've got no speed control on your team. If you can get that set up correctly, and it can imposter turn into an opponent who's maybe got a tailwind or a trick room, it's so huge. Heracross, Strongmon, Maractus with the Storm Drain, Shuckle pairs really well with Chansey, but also if that thing can get a power split off, it can do a lot of work. And finally Piloswine, just a sort of Mamoswine replacement. I do like Piloswine. Finally, on Aaron's team, he's got the G-Max Hatterene. Not something you see very often, but that G-Max Smite can be really huge. It does a lot of damage and obviously gets a confusion on your side. It confuses both mons, which, again, a lot like a lot of the other G-Max abilities, it's a very annoying ability to play against. You then got Amoonguss and Indeedee female. Both great redirect mons. Rage Powder, Follow Me can be so huge in a game. If you've got a mon you want to set up, you can just Rage Powder them to death and you're going to be laughing. There's also Spore on the side of Amoonguss, which, getting that sleep early if your opponent D-maxes first turn or G-maxes, Spore them, and then their G-max is wasted. Gastrodon, it's got that dual typing of Water Ground, but also has Storm Drain, which means Water mons just... You could bring it on a field and, the opponent, if they've got a strong water type, not going to be able to do very much. Pretty good special attacker as well. You run Earth Power, Muddy Water sort of things on it, and it's or Scald. Gigalith, not the fastest mon. You're typically going to see that in a Trick Room team, but you can run that with Weakness Policy, and, if a Trick Room goes up, it's going to do a lot of work with that Weakness Policy. You're typically going to see something self-proc that WP, and it's quite a bulky Pokemon. And Oranguru, it's just another Trick Room setter, but also has the move Instruct, which is really huge. If that Trick Room set up and you've got Gigalith on that field, you could get maybe 2 max Rock Falls or something off, and you're gonna be able to do a lot of damage. And finally, the rest of the list, you've got Scrafty, Bolthund, Rotom Frost, Cloyster, and not Grookey, the other one, the other chimp. Scrafty, great into mon fake out. Bolthund, good support mon. Rotom Frost, you might have seen Aaron Cybertron Zeng use that with Assault Vest. That paired with another Ice mon could be really big. The other sort of mon speaks for itself. So we're gonna Thwacky, that's the one. Thank you, Mr. T Optic. I'm really not on point with the mon names today. We're really slacking, but we're not gonna waste any more time. We're gonna get straight into this game. So Bulu Boys versus Inglorious Surfers, myself versus Aaron. So we lead off with Diggersby and Heracross. Aaron is going to lead off on the side of Hatterene and Indeedee. You've got to expect that Hatterene's going to be wanting the Trick Room setup. You're going to see a Follow Me from Indeedee. What can Diggersby and Heracross do in this situation, though? I think they've both got pretty good type advantage over them both, but if that Follow Me pulls off and they don't get a kill straight away, that Mega Horn with the Oko, that Indeedee's gone, and a gun shot on the Hatterene. Oh my goodness me. What a turn one. 2 Orcos in one turn. Completely blown that game plan out of the water, I think, for Aaron. A great start on my side. In comes Scrafty and Gigalith. The burn comes off for the Heracross, which now means it's got Guts going off, so its attack is buffed. Diggersby, obviously, huge power and Life Orb running on that. It's a big problem, and that's a great start on my side. What has Aaron got to answer, though? What can he answer back with? That's one hell of a turn one, and that's a big comeback you've got to make at that point. Big problems on the side of Aaron. That is obviously not the start he wanted to make in this game. Rillaboom swaps in, gets the Grassy Sedge, gets the Grassy Seed with the defense buff. Gigalith D-maxes. Close combat comes out, and that's another Orko. Scrafty is out of there. That's 3 attacks, 3 KOs on the side, my side. Max Steel Spike comes out on the side for Gigalith, gives it that defense buff. Rillaboom kind of tanks that hit, but it's looking very scary now for Aaron. There's, you know, a Grassy Glide or a close combat from Heracross, and that Gigalith's going to be struggling. It does have that defense buff though, so how comes the Grassy Glide? It lives it, 65% health. The weakness velocity does get proc. Close combat, is it going to? No, it just about survives. And the Max Ruffle out from the Gigalith. Rillaboom goes down. There's some consolation from Aaron, and that is going to be the game, I think. There's nothing much you can do. Center Scorch comes out from my side. Unbelievable turn 1 and 2. And turn 3 not so bad as well. I mean, if that defense boost doesn't come out from Gigalith, you've got to think that close combat's going to land, and that's the game in just 3 turns. Center Scorch G-maxes. Heracross with the Protect. Max Overgrowth comes out. The Gigalith's too slow, and that is game 1 to Bulu Boys. Unbelievable start. Absolutely lightning start. We're going to move straight on to game 2. Unbelievable start from my side. Aaron swapped it out here with Amoonguss and Hatterene this time. I have swapped it out with Center Scorch, G-Max, and Diggersby. Does Aaron have an answer for that Diggersby though? Because that gunk shot, if it lands, it's doing so much damage. And you know, that Center Scorch, if it gets Center Inferno out, that's on that Amoonguss, there's going to be problems. That Amoonguss is not going to live a Center Inferno, so Aaron's gonna have to do something. He's going to be wanting to set up that Trick Rune. You've got to think, but can he really afford to do that if that gunk shot lands on Hatterene again? Then the whole game plan goes out the window again. So the timers just went up. Aaron's obviously thinking about what he can do in this situation here. He's got a lot of problems. He's, you know, that you've got to think, such a strong game 1. It's going to get in your head, and you know, that whole game plan that you've came up with is just has gone to the wall really. Aaron's just taking his time to decide. So yeah, advantage Matt start. What a start! That's exactly the sort of start any coach would want, and I don't think anyone was really expecting such a clean and you know, one-sided victory. To be honest, it was absolute scenes, as Rio says in the chat. Yeah, unbelievable scenes, unbelievable Jeff, as a certain Sky Sports commentator would say. So the countdown is and that Gigalith swaps in, the Sandstream comes out, Center Scorch G-maxes, and Hatterene G-maxes. That is big. Gunkshot comes out from Diggersby, that takes it down by 75% HP. Center Inferno comes out, it hits that Gigalith. That Gigalith is now trapped in, and that Center Inferno damage is going to be coming out on both Hatterene and Gigalith. Smite comes out, confuses the Center Scorch. That Diggersby is out of there. That is not a bad turn 1 from Aaron. That's a much better start. He's able to get a kill that first turn, and advantage Aaron. Or is it? So Rillaboom's popped in. He's buffed his defense with that Grassy Seed on the grassy terrain, and that Gigalith is stuck in. If he wants to swap it out, he's not going to be able to, and that Hatterene is stuck in as well. So what can Hatterene do on that side? If it's not running a Protect, it's wide open to a Grassy Glide here, and it's going to be there's going to be problems on the side of Aaron again. You know, this is 2 turns in, and it's the Protect comes out from the Gigalith. Grassy Glide, that's Hatterene gone. Center Scorch is confused, so no attack comes out from Center Scorch. That Smite coming in clutch. Center Scorch doesn't get an attack off there, which is really, really big. In comes Amoonguss, and well, what can Amoonguss do here? If it can Spore or Sludge Bomb that Rillaboom, they're in a good spot, but that Amoonguss is going to be so slow, and the same with the Gigalith. You know, if they can't nullify one or the other, there's no way they're surviving it. Obviously, Center Scorch has complete type advantage over both of them. Protect comes out from Amoonguss and Rillaboom. Center Inferno comes out in Amoonguss. It's not going to take it out, but it's going to do about half damage. That's Amoonguss is now trapped in. Airquake comes out, does absolutely nothing to the Center Scorch with that grassy terrain out. And, well, it's turn 3, and it's looking very problematic for Aaron. Obviously, that Center Inferno damage comes out on Gigalith and Amoonguss. That's really big. What has Aaron got in hand? Obviously, he can't swap in either his Scrafty or his he can't swap in his Scrafty. Grassy Glide comes out. That's Gigalith gone. Confusion ends on Scotch. Flare Blitz comes out. That's a Moongus gone. Turn 4, and it's looking like game, set, and match again. Unbelievably rapid start from the side of Matt. Scrafty comes out with the Intim. White Smoke prevents any stat drops on the side of Scorch, and you've got to think this is game. What can that Scrafty do against Scorch, Rillaboom, and there's still there's still Heracross in the back on the side of Matt. Grassy Glide comes out, doesn't do that much damage. No fake out on the side of Scrafty there. Leech Life replenishes some Scorch's health. Close Combat comes out, that does absolutely nothing to Scorch, and that's the defense drop on Scrafty. That is going to be game 2. Game, set, and match. Grassy Glide comes out, Scrafty is gone, and that is it. That is the game. An unbelievable start from the side, from my side. Wow. Yeah, I'll be honest. Nobody was expecting that. We were all sat in the Discord call, and genuinely, the just shock. I mean, you can find Aaron's YouTube link to that video. I'll link it in chat right now. Actually, if I can just grab it real quick, you can watch Aaron's perspective from that side. But yeah, I don't think anyone was quite expecting such a rapid and sort of one-sided match. Yeah, maybe I agree, Silly. Maybe next week we could see a game 3. Obviously, all the games today were one-sided. We are with the 500 bits. I appreciate it, my friend. Yeah, what a week 1. We saw some absolutely amazing games today. You know, I agree very much with Dave. I think week 1 was very much people figuring each other out, figuring out their own teams. I think again, going back to what Dave said, I think you can see who's prepped and who hasn't. Not that that's a bad thing, but I think people are now realizing they've got to really take it seriously, and there's going to be some really exciting games next week. That's for sure. So just from my side, obviously I can't interview myself. I did quite a bit of prep on Aaron's team. I was pretty confident that he was going to bring Indeedee and Hatterene. I'll be honest, I didn't know whether he was going to Gmax the Hatterene turn 1 in that game 1. That was my one worry. But I kind of figured he wanted to get Trick Room set up, so when I saw that lineup, I was very happy. I'd ran a pretty sort of wide move pool on Diggersby, and I didn't realise that he could learn a poison move, and there was a big risk. It was high risk, high reward, that play. Megahorn is 85% accurate, Gunk Shot is 85% accurate. The RNG on Showdown is typically kind of meh. So I was very, very worried that like just so that could have easily went completely differently. Like both moves could have missed. Follow Me could have came out, which obviously wouldn't have mattered, but then Trick Room would have went up, and I would have been in a lot of trouble. You know, he would have been out of Gmax, the Hatterene, then swapping Gigalith, and it would have been curtains for me. You know, there would have been nothing I could do. So you know, it worked out. Game 2, I figured he would bring the Amoongus to try and either spore or you know, get the Rage Powder off. Because apart from Centiskorch, I didn't really have an answer. That's why I brought the Centiskorch in first in game 2, and it worked out great. I did no like actual practice. I just did everything in theory, and that seems to have paid off. Just sitting on damage calc. So yeah, I'm really happy with how it went. I'll be the first one to say I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting it to be very close, but to probably lose out because I knew Aaron was a pretty accomplished player. And I'm really quite chuffed with how it went. But let's take a quick look at the league table. Going into next week. So sitting right at the top of the table at the summit, we've got Bulu Boys tied for first, and Newcastle Thundurus, Miami Heat, and Long Island Goomies. Bottom half of the table, you've got Toadstar Belgrade, Aurora Akuno, Inglorious Surfers, and ShadowKings. Obviously, it's all to play for. We've still got 13 weeks of games to go. There's a lot of Pokemon to be played. So don't get me wrong. There's still time for people to make a comeback. I think the like of Dogzie and Weo and Gus, who, and obviously, well, all the people who lost didn't have the best first game. There's certainly a chance for them to come back, and I fully expect it's going to be a very, very close league table. So, yeah, all to play for. Great first week from everyone. Thank you everyone to being so cooperative and supportive for this. I've been very excited to get this going, and I'm very happy with the way it's went and how well it's been received. So we'll be back next week, Sunday 1 p.m. for the week 2 games. Next week, we've got some big games coming up. Let me just tell you. So week 2, I haven't got it on the screen here, but I'll talk it for you. Week 2, we've got Aurora Akuno versus Lion Gumi, so Gus versus Silly. We've got Aaron's Inglorious Surface versus Wheels Toadstable Grid, so that's a really, really big game. You know, both teams lost their first game. They'll be able to get that first win. Miami Heat versus Newcastle Thundurus, Latvian versus Dave. I think that's going to be the game to look out for. You know, two guys who very confidently and comfortably won their first game of the season. Yeah, I think that's going to decide who the early pace setter is going to be in this league. And finally, we've got Bulu Boys, myself versus Dogzie ShadowKings. I'll be looking to continue bring that game, that week 1 form into week 2. We'll see what we can do. But thanks again, everybody, for watching. I hope you've really enjoyed the stream today. We'll be back, as I said, next Sunday from 1 p.m. for the week 2 of the British Pokemon League. I have been your host, Matt Starr. Thank you very, very much for watching today. See you next week. See you later.